Just make sure the YouTube is awake, and then we will begin on this lovely Wednesday. Here it goes. Here it comes. Yeah. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow, good times, good day, whatever's happening where you're at. I hope it's amazing. I hope it's spectacular. I hope it's good. Today is Wednesday on this year of our Lord, 2020. It is April the 22nd. It is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. I hope you do something for the Earth today. I think that my wife and I are going to take our compost today. So that's something we're going to do. We're going to take our compost. We deliver our compost to a park that does composting, and I think we're going to do that today. Try to help out old Mother Nature the best we can. That's cool. Right on. It's Wednesday, and guys, we have a lot to jump into, so we're going to jump right into it. So, they tell you that if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. That's the cliche that you're taught at a very young age. I think the first time I heard that was fourth grade, which is a weird thing to say to a fourth grader because fourth graders can't vote. So basically, they were just saying like, "Look, you have no right to complain." It's like, well, I'm also, I'm like 9 or 10 or whatever. I don't really know about politics yet. I mean, I didn't when I was that age. I know some kids that age do, and I kind of find that a little horrifying, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's like you're going to have enough years to kind of dive into that. I feel like when you're 9 or 10, maybe it's maybe it's not time to worry about that quite yet, but it happens, especially with the internet and stuff like that. But they say if you don't vote, you have no right to complain, and you got to vote for the lesser of two evils, and you got to vote blue no matter who. And if you live in California like me, if you do not vote for Donald Trump, you're voting for Joe Biden. And if you do not vote for Joe Biden, you're voting for Donald Trump, depending on who you talk to. We've been through this before. I have been told by Trump supporters that if I don't vote if I vote for anyone other than Donald Trump, I'm voting for Joe Biden. I've been told by Biden supporters that not voting for Biden equals a vote for Trump. Even if I planned on voting for neither candidate, which I do, I plan to vote for neither candidate. But if I vote for the Green Party or I vote for the socialist candidate, I am essentially voting for both of them being Trump and Biden. How does that make sense? Well, it doesn't really, but that's our system for you. That's our system. Trump supporters will tell you, well, California is a blue state, so you're essentially voting for Biden if you don't vote for the biggest opposition to Biden, which is Donald Trump. Biden supporters will tell you any vote that's not for Biden is a vote for Trump, because we're conditioned to say that all third-party votes are a vote for Trump. And you're just kind of shrugging your shoulders going, gee, I was planning on voting for neither of them. I guess now I'm voting for both of them. What are you going to do? What a great system we got. It's spectacular. Do you want to choose between alleged rapists? I'd rather not. Well, I guess you're choosing both of them then. All right. But in New York, the reason I bring all this up is in New York, they are giving up the facade that there's any integrity linked to our elections whatsoever. Our pristine elections, as Noam Chomsky likes to put it, that is littered with superdelegates and gerrymandering and the Electoral College and voter suppression and exit polls that don't match the supposed results and no paper trail whatsoever and machines that are easily hackable, easily manipulated. Everyone knows that, and they don't care anyway. All that happens in our wonderful elections that we're so worried Russia might spread a few memes around that are going to influence small-minded people. Oh, my tiny brain, I don't know what to do now that I saw Jesus arm wrestling Satan talking about masturbation. I don't know how to vote now. I'm being manipulated. Our elections are so amazing otherwise. Well, in New York, they don't even want to pretend. They don't even want to pretend anymore that it matters. Here's what's going on in New York. Warnings of suspension of democracy in New York as state officials weigh removing Bernie Sanders from the primary ballot. They might just take him off the ballot. They might just be, screw it. We don't even care about the number of delegates. We don't even care. Just take them up. New York State election officials are poised to remove Bernie Sanders from the ballot in June's primary election, a move that would deny the Vermont lawmaker's supporters the chance to cast a vote for him as president and would harm his chances of using his delegate count to influence the party's direction and push for reforms. So here's what's going on. As HuffPost Daniel Morenz reported Tuesday, Board of Elections co-chair Douglas Kellner and Commissioner Andrew Spano, both Democrats, will meet Wednesday to decide on whether or not to remove Sanders' name from the ballot. So that's today. Kellner believes that a provision in the 2019-2020 budget says the board may remove a candidate from the ballot if they make clear they are no longer seeking the office in question. Under Kellner's interpretation of the statute, Sanders, who suspended his campaign on April 8th, falls under that category. There you go. It's not fair. Here's what Kellner has to say. It's not very controversial that Bernie Sanders has suspended his campaign. Actually, it is. Stop you right there. Actually, it is. Bernie Sanders suspending his campaign when he did is the equivalent of a football team on a game time drive. And by the way, they don't even know how many points they have. They actually have more points than they realize because not all the points have even been awarded yet because I guess the scorekeeper's shrunk. And it's 3rd and long, and Bernie Sanders decides to punt the football and just throw the game. That's the equivalent of. It made 0 sense for Bernie Sanders to drop out when he did. And now New York, they don't even want to entertain the fantasy. By the way, this is the same place where the grumblings have started. Well, I guess you can't really assign that to New York City. It just kind of happened nationally, where they were just thinking, maybe we'll just crown Andrew Cuomo. We'll just crown him king. We'll just anoint him the candidate. People have been talking about that like it was anything resembling okay. Hey, we know we had a primary. We know there was a primary where people got to vote. There was a primary where people in Wisconsin showed up because they were forced to, because they had no choice. They either got to vote or they had to stay home. People had to decide whether or not they wanted to risk their lives to go vote. And by the way, there's been about 17 cases that can all be linked to people going to the polls that day. So, remember Joe Biden telling everyone it was fine to vote. Let's not forget about that. Let's not forget Joe Biden telling everyone it was fine to vote. And people went to the polls that day. Now they're just saying, screw it. And we might just anoint someone the candidate. We might just what if we just made Andrew Cuomo the candidate? Joe Biden can't form a sentence. He's completely out of his mind. Let's just anoint somebody. Let's just anoint Andrew Cuomo. Why do we have primaries at all, really? The DNC said it in court during the DNC lawsuit. They said it. If we wanted to just anoint somebody in the back room over cigars, we could. We don't do that. We let you people vote. We let you peasants go and risk your lives, in this case, to vote. We kind of give you choices. I mean, we stifle the candidates we don't like and kneecap them as much as we absolutely can. But, you can still fill it out if you want to. And you wonder why people aren't inspired by anything going on in our politics. You wonder why half the country doesn't vote. When you have two parties who have the same owners, one party says, hey, are you rich? No? Well, screw you. We don't care then. Just go die. And the other party says, if you're not rich, we might let you vote. But it's really annoying. You're really inconveniencing us, especially if you want someone who's actually going to institute policies that would make your life better. It's really annoying. We don't have to do this, but I guess we will. Yeah, go ahead. Not me, us. Okay. Well, guess what? It's actually not you. It's us. And by us, we mean the DNC and our donor class and the DCCC. And screw you. Given those great options, isn't it shocking that half the country doesn't bother showing up on election day? Isn't it shocking? It's like they're not even trying to hide it that we don't want these elections to mean jack. They're just a smokescreen, really. Man. So we'll see. I mean, I guess the decision, I guess we can Google it and find out. because I don't know when they're making the decision. It might be later today. Did New York? Let me just go ahead and Google it, see what happens. Did New York kick Bernie off ballot? All right, so it doesn't look like anything's dropped. Sending. Yeah. All right, so I can't find anything doing a quick search that they actually made a final judgment call yet, but they will be making it later today as of the recording of this. So we'll see what happens. All right, New York. Remember, if you don't vote, no right to complain. All right. So that's happening. Now, let's go here. This is interesting. The Senate has passed their new economic stimulus. And, well, what's going on this time? You'll find out that it's a lot like the last one. So check this out. This is from Bloomberg. And I picked this article because there's something in particular I really want to point out. House set to pass, and this is from yesterday, so it has since moved forward. So the Senate passes more aid for small businesses and hospitals. Okay, with the House poised to give final passage to the $484 billion package of new pandemic relief funds on Thursday, lawmakers in Trump administration are already turning their focus to the next round of stimulus. The legislation that the House will take up, which passed the Senate yesterday, includes $320 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program. What was the Paycheck Protection Program? Okay, that was a loan program where apparently up to $10,000 of it is forgivable. They could just completely forgive that. You don't have to pay it back. There's some asterisks around that, but that's generally what it's supposed to do. And it's meant for small businesses, but small businesses can go up to 500 employees. So the banks ran out of money, allegedly, immediately. They opened up this program. It was impossible to get through. Most people couldn't get through. It was a huge hassle. Banks did not bother equipping themselves for it. They got trillions handed to them by the government. And essentially what happened in its barest essence, the government said, hey, here's trillions. We're going to give it to the banks. We're not going to give it directly to people. Screw them. You're going to get a $1,200, screw you payment. But we're going to give trillions to the banks. We're going to count on them to disperse it. And if they don't, by the way, no consequence. Are we good here? Okay, we're going on vacation. That's what Congress did. That's what your government did. And they did it with the help of Republicans and Democrats alike. They said, screw you. And so what they're doing now, they're going to give that more money. It ran out of money in a week last time. They're just going to give it more. And here's what's happened. Both parties are looking for follow-up legislation that would be more comprehensive and costly. President Donald Trump, who met Tuesday with New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, the guy who might just be anointed candidate, who knows, said aid to state and local governments would be part of a so-called Phase 4 stimulus, as would money for road projects and expanding broadband service. Trump says he'll ask bigger companies to return emergency loans. All right, so side note here. I watched a CBS Live press conference yesterday. Because I like pain. I guess I'm a bit of a masochist because watching a Trump press conference is the most ridiculous thing ever. It's like, you know what watching a Trump press conference is like? It's like you are watching a really bad improv sketch where the premise of a sketch is really terrible reporters ask a really terrible president pointless questions. That's what a Trump press conference is like. It is absolutely absurd. It is beyond obscene. And honestly, if you just had someone from another country who didn't know who our president was, basically, who just didn't know anything about our politics, and you just had them watch it, and you were like, what do you think this is? I bet you 100% of them would say, well, this is a parody thing. This isn't, do you think this is actually a president? No, that's not actually the president. This is like a sketch. It's not all that funny, really, but this is like a sketch. Do you think those are actual reporters? No, those aren't reporters. Their questions are insanely stupid. Those aren't reporters. They don't even ask follow-ups, really. Those aren't reporters. And then you're like, brace for this. That's actually the president. Those are actually reporters. And they won't believe you. They'll be, Come on, what is that really? Is that guy an actor? Actually, he was an actor. Like they'll Google and they'll be like, look, this guy was in Home Alone too. That's not the president. That's an actor. That's in a nope. Keep searching. Oh wait, that's the president. That's what would happen. They're so ridiculous. So anyway, Donald Trump uttered the words. He was talking about Harvard, and he was saying how they needed to repay some of the loans. He feels like they should. And then he said the statement, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said something along the lines of, this stimulus is meant to help workers, not help the biggest businesses in the country. It's essentially what he said. So the reporter who asked him a follow-up question, instead of staying on that and being like, you just said this, so if you feel this way, can we count on, Ilhan Omar's bill that forgives rent, that puts rent on hold and freezes rent and freezes mortgages and actually reimburses some people for rent? Ilhan Omar has a bill out there that will actually give people their April rent back and suspend all rent and mortgage payments. And there's going to be a fund via HUD that makes sure that with all the mortgages suspended, all landlords receive compensation for that, so that nobody gets screwed over here. Renters get rent relief completely. Landlords still get compensated through the HUD, and mortgages are frozen as well. That's a proposal that Ilhan Omar has, and it would be that way for a year. There's another proposal out there that has been penned by Ro Khanna and a few others. I forget who else was on that, but Ro Khanna is one of them, and it would give everybody $2,000 a month. It would give an emergency UBI of $2,000 a month for the foreseeable future, potentially up to a year. So those proposals are out there. A great follow-up question for Donald Trump would have been, hey, man, since you say this is for the workers, are you for putting cash in their hands directly? Are you going to encourage Congress to make sure that these proposals that are out there to suspend rent, to give a UBI, that's going to be in the next one? Is that your plan? But that wasn't the follow-up question Trump was asked. The follow-up question he was asked instead was the lamest gotcha attempt about his resorts in Florida. And it was a dumb question, and he gave a dumb answer. And it just goes, and that reporter doesn't care about doing news and journalism. That reporter doesn't care about informing anyone. That reporter just wanted to get a soundbite gotcha moment. And in their head, they thought they were doing their job. In their head, they thought like, ooh, I'm going to get the president. His resorts in Florida laid off people. And all President Trump did was deflect that and just blame the state of Florida, because Donald Trump is also saying, we got to reopen the country. So it was an incredibly ridiculous back and forth, completely unnecessary, and a waste of brain cells for anyone who had the displeasure of watching it. But they could have asked him to expand on the statement he just made. But they didn't. They didn't. Anyway, getting back to this article, Steve Mnuchin had something to say, and I don't care what it was, because Steve Mnuchin is awful. He's absolutely awful. Here's what I really wanted to point out. Okay, so Senate Majority Mitch McConnell said Congress should take measured steps with additional rescue measures. That's what they're saying. So this whole thing is basically they're giving more money to the PPP program. So they're just giving more money to the banks intended for small businesses. And they also have some relief for hospitals, and they have some relief for a few other entities as well. Okay, so here's the details here. The latest package provides $320 billion for the PPP. That thing that they supposedly ran out of money after a week. We're going to just replenish that. And it provides forgivable loans for businesses. It sets aside $30 billion of the PPP loan funds for banks and credit unions, with $10 billion to $50 billion in assets, and another $30 billion for even smaller institutions. So it's looking out for big banks and now small banks. Democrats push for that part. The measure includes $60 billion in loans and grants for a separate economic disaster loan program, so more loans, and makes farms and ranches eligible for the loan. Also, there is $75 billion for hospitals. Okay, that's cool. And $25 billion for virus testing. So Here's the part I want to point out, just in case you think, well, the Democrats really, they pushed for all these extra things that weren't in. The original one was just a bunch of loans for businesses. It was just replenishing the PPP. And, but they got some other stuff in there for hospitals. Listen to what Mitch McConnell has to say. It's unfortunate that it took our Democratic colleagues 12 days to agree to a deal that contains essentially nothing that Republicans ever opposed. That should be the headline. That should be the headline. Because Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they're making it out like they really fought for something. And they got all these extra bells and whistles, and they're trying to budge these Republicans. In reality, there's nothing in this new stimulus that Republicans, probably with exception to Rand Paul, because he was against the whole thing, that anyone was really all that opposed to. Why? Well, because it's mostly just another giveaway to banks. That's mostly what it is. It does not put cash directly into the hands of the American people. It does not suspend rent. It does not suspend mortgage. It does none of those things. Instead, it replenishes a loan program that, man, the banks made off like bandits once again. And Democrats are looking out for small banks, too. That's the big thing. Democrats are looking out for small banks. So I'm curious to know. I mean, I do my banking with a credit union, and it's a small credit union. So I'm curious to know if I'll be eligible for some type of PPP loan. I bet you they don't have any of it. I bet you they don't. Man. So that's the new stimulus bill, folks. There you go. That should be the headline. That should be the headline. Yeah, Democrats are making it out like it's some huge victory. Really, Republicans and Democrats, we're fine with this. We're fine with this. Why? Because it keeps the donors happy and it keeps the banks happy. And here's another stimulus that leaves the people out in the cold while transferring wealth to the richest among us once again. They have weaponized a pandemic where people are dying to pad the pockets of the richest among us once again. And they have it set up so that we, the people, at best, get crumbs. This is by design. This is by design. And this isn't only not your government not working for you. This is your government working actively against you. And it's Republicans and Democrats. That's when they can really have bipartisanship, folks. We celebrate bipartisanship. Well, here's when bipartisanship happens. When Republicans have a bad idea and Democrats help them sell it. That's bipartisanship. And we're seeing it play here. They're making it out like they fought for all these great things. Really, Republicans were cool with all this. Republicans were cool with all this. Nothing's going directly to the workers. Nothing. All right. So there we go. Stoked for the next one, aren't you? Yay! All right. So that's happening. And oh, here's something fun. We're going to go to a little bit of music news. Got a little bit of music news today. And here is Roger Waters. Check out this bomb. Like a cool bomb by Roger Waters. Check this out. Roger Waters of Pink Floyd goes off on American exceptionalism. You ready for this? This is pretty cool. Here, let me turn up the volume a little bit. Yeah, we'll make it. Yeah. All right, here we go. This is him on Rolling Stone. He was doing an interview on Rolling Stone. Here's what he has to say.
The appalling bill of goods that the American electorate have been sold, and that they're falling for it, and they fall for it again and again and again and again on the simplest of pretexts, which is, and this is the huge elephant in this room and every room in America, American exceptionalism. We are great. This is the greatest country in the world. We believe in freedom and democracy and human rights. We can make everything better. We should be the policeman because we are exceptional. We are the shining city on the hill. No, you are not. You are fucking awful. And
boom. Wow. Roger Waters. Roger Waters. Boom. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're awful. You know, a lot of the people who go around saying the United States is the greatest country in the world, the USA is the greatest country in the world, most of them have never been anywhere else. They've never been to another country. And if you look at how other countries are handling this pandemic, how a lot of other countries are handling this pandemic, the United States sure as hell ain't the greatest country in the world. Not even close. Not even close. You know, when I got home from the UK, I went to, the UK and Ireland. I went to England and Scotland and Ireland. And I had an amazing time. I had a really amazing time over there. You know, a lot of the things that I really appreciate culturally, a lot of the music that I love very much, a lot of it started over there and, or it has roots over there. So going to Manchester for me was like a religious experience, and same with London. I had an amazing time, and going to Scotland, it was just beautiful. And same with Ireland. It was just an amazing, amazing, amazing trip. And I got home, and right when I got home was when the synagogue shooting happened in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Which that synagogue is near a bakery that my dad goes to on a regular basis, sometimes on Saturdays. And that it was chilling. It was absolutely chilling. I first found out about it because a person that I know who is in the local media in Pittsburgh was just at a restaurant having his breakfast right near the synagogue, and he heard the shots, and he started live tweeting what was going on. He said, "There's been a shooting, and it looks like it happened at the synagogue. People are scared. Cops are on their way." And he just started live tweeting what he was seeing, and he couldn't see everything, but he kind of knew something was going on. I don't recall if he knew right away that it was at the synagogue or not. It's kind of a little bit foggy at this point, but that was the morning I got back, and it was just such a frustrating thing to, because where I just came from, that sort of thing doesn't happen. It doesn't happen over there, at least not the way it happens here. Nowhere close. Not even in the same vicinity. Nowhere close. And I remember just, the first thing I did was I called my dad to make sure he wasn't, near it. And, then we talked, and he was saying how terrible it was. Of course, we found out that some family friends were there. One of them got killed. And I just remember looking at my wife, and I was just angry. And by the way, she wasn't my wife at the time, but we had just gotten engaged. I proposed over there. But I just remember looking at her, and I was like, man, the first lie I remember being told as a kid was in school when they teach you that we're the greatest country in the world. When they tell you this is the greatest country in the world. It's a lie. It's a lie. And it was just a very frustrating moment. And when you look at how we're handling a pandemic compared to, let's just use England as a for instance. Now, I'm not saying England's handling it perfectly. I'm sure they're not. I'm not saying England doesn't have their problems. They certainly do. They have Boris Johnson, for crying out loud. England's far from perfect. Far from it. They screwed over Jeremy Corbyn, similar to the way Bernie Sanders got screwed over here. There are actually a lot of parallels when you look at it. Because Corbyn bent the knee to the rest of Labor. That was inspiring to nobody. Same way Sanders bent the knee to the Democratic Party, which is losing people in droves. But anyway, you look at how they're responding to it right now. People are getting their wages. Most of their wages are being replenished. They're getting their wage supplemented, so they can actually go out and do things. I talked to a buddy of mine who lives over there. He said, yeah, right now, most of my days, my wages are being covered. I can't work right now. My work is on hold. So I've been delivering food. I'm part of a program. We deliver food to the most vulnerable in our community. People who can't go outside the house. And it's not some app doing that. It's an actual program that the government is helping with. Because, by the way, that's the purpose of a government. The purpose of the government is to help its people when necessary, and to provide services for its people. That's what government's supposed to be for. So when you have a government that's actively working against you and is just using this as an opportunity to just hand money to the 1%, is that even, are we even a country anymore? I feel like we're not. I mean, and I've said this before, we're not really, the United States isn't even really a country anymore. We're just a corporation with state lines. Our response to this has been similar to third world countries. We have no testing available. The whole purpose of the government is to provide these types of things for people. And when you're in an emergency situation, to handle it and to get it on lockdown and to handle it. So Roger Waters summed it up pretty well there. Summed it up pretty well. Yeah, you're not some beacon on the hill. We're not some purveyor of democracy either. We're some purveyor of democracy. What did we just talk about a few minutes ago? They're just trying to kick a candidate off the ballot just because they found a loophole saying they can. And they might just anoint somebody else. Why don't we just have an emperor at this point? We pretty much do anyway. It's called the plutocracy. It's called the donor class. So, all right. Roger Waters. He is letting loose. He is letting loose, that Roger Waters. I wanted to share that. But here's some here's a cool music thing that happened. I want to go here next. This is actually also in the vein of music. This is a pretty cool thing that went on. Check this out. So, you guys remember the classic film, That Thing You Do. Tom Hanks, he managed the band, and then there was those other people that played in the band, and it was about a band, in other words. I won't give any spoilers away, but it was about a band. And the band was around, I think it was supposed to take place in like the 60s, like the movie. I mean, obviously the movie didn't happen in the 60s, but I think it was supposed to take place then. Like, they were some band in the 60s, and they had a hit single, basically. And it was because the drummer decided that the song should go in a different direction. All those drummers, man, those drummers, they always do that. You know, the old famous drummer joke. You ready for the famous drummer joke? This is a public domain joke. I did not write this, but the famous drummer joke goes, hey, how many drummers does it take to plug in a light bulb? How many, you say? None. The light revolves around them. Hey-oh! My musician friends love that joke, especially my friends who are drummers. They love that joke the best. They love it. And I don't really get it. I guess drummers, it's like, I guess drummers, they're kind of in their own zone because they're the rhythm section, man. I guess that's the generalization there. But I don't blame drummers. I mean, look, when you think about it, the drummer, they have an entire kit around them that they're sitting behind the entire show. So they can't dance around. They got to keep the time. They got to keep it in the pocket. And they got to lug by far the most stuff. They got to lug so much. Even it's more than a guitar and a half stack. It's more than that. And I know you're thinking, Ron, you're a comedian. You lug absolutely nothing. There's just a microphone and a stool. Yeah, I know. It's way easier. I mean, I totally attest to that. I don't have to lug gear around. I just have my merch to travel with. That's it. So yeah, it's way easier. Like way easier. But drummers, they got an entire kit, man. Guitarists don't have that. Bassists don't have it. Keyboard players don't really have that. It's kind of the same setup for them. And so the drummer in many ways is kind of a lone soldier. They can't do the back-to-back guitar solo thing. Guitarists can do that together. They can do it with a bass player. Keyboard, you can interact with the keyboard player. You can do the whole, like, put your arm around the keyboard player while they got a solo, like they're doing a little, like, Springsteen-esque interlude, and your arms around them. Like, yeah, I'm going to sing now, and my arms around you. Like, this is like you're the piano man, and it's like we're living a Billy Joel song, except it's not a Billy Joel song because we're a band. But the drummer, still got to be behind the kit. That's the drummer, still got to be behind the kit. And, Fred Armisen made a special for you, drummers. That's he decided that was important. By the way, Fred Armisen has some pretty mean chops on the drums. I saw Fred Armisen guest with a band called the Darts. They're a fantastic band. I think they're out of the Bay Area, but we'll do them for a song of the day coming up. But anyway, he played drums on one of their tracks at a show at Highland Park in LA. He was a special guest, and he came out and he jammed with them. And so anyway, getting back to The Wonders and the movie That Thing You Do, which if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. It's a great movie. Go see it. You're missing out if you have not seen that movie. But so here's what I wanted to point out. This is them reuniting. So we're not really going to watch much of the interview because what I really wanted to point out here was this dude and his Medicare for All t-shirt. So for those of you who don't know, here, we'll play part of the interview.
Hi, everybody. I'm Guy Patterson, and I play the drums.
Hi, I'm Lenny, and I lead guitar.
I'm James Manley II, and I'm lead vocals.
And I'm the bass player.
So in the movie, the bass player didn't have a name. It was kind of funny. Like everyone had a backstory. Like the drummer had a backstory. The guitarist, like it was pretty funny. So the drummer ended up kind of being the main protagonist in the show. And he, the story was kind of around him because they had a drummer before him and then he ended up filling in, and then there's a romantic interest going on there. I'm not going to give anything away in case you haven't seen it. And then the singer, he's the guy who's really focused on making it. He's the guy where like this band's his life. This is his shot. And, he gets really into that. The guitarist, he really just wants to get a girlfriend, but for some reason, the girls never pay attention to him. It doesn't really make any sense. He's not a bad looking guy, but for whatever reason, the girls just don't pay attention to him. They're interested in everyone else in the band except for him. And it's kind of a funny little side tangent throughout the film. It's but the bass player he's just the bass player. That's literally all they give him. They're just like, yeah, you're the bass player. And but here he is in his Medicare for All t-shirt.
Wonders.
Hi, I'm Angie Martosio. I'm a staff writer here.
All right, so let's try to find another. Boom, check that out. Yeah, boom. Medicare for All. That guy sporting a Medicare for All t-shirt on Rolling Stone during the interview. And admittedly, I had to look up the actor's name. But I did. I looked it up, and I actually tweeted at him for doing that because I thought it was pretty cool. So here we go. Here's what I said. His name is Ethan. Oh, wait, no. This is the wrong. I just showed you guys the wrong tweet. All right. Sorry about that. Let me go find the right tweet. This is a foreshadowing tweet. This is the song of the day tweet. And now I feel like I just spoiled something. Here's the proper tweet. Ethan Embry. So here I say, hey, Ethan Embry. I think that's his name. Yeah, Ethan Embry is his name. I say, hey, Ethan Embry, thanks for sporting the Medicare for All t-shirt. And it got a couple likes, not a lot, but it got a couple. And one of them was him. Ethan Embry went ahead and liked that tweet. He doesn't follow me, but that's okay. I'd imagine he has no clue who I am. And, but check this out. He's pretty cool. He's also a big supporter of Music Cares, which, for those of you that aren't familiar with Music Cares, I'm not fluent in it. I don't know everything about it, but essentially it's an organization that provides for music in need. And they provide resources for people in need. And if you remember when we had the punk bassist Steve Davis on the show, he was the punk bassist who has played in a number of bands over the years. The US Bomb's one of them. He's in a new band that he fronts to. We had him on the show to talk about what he was going through because he was diagnosed with cancer. And Music Cares is one of the organizations that stepped in to try to help him. So Music Cares kind of looks out for musicians. A lot of creative types, they likely do not have health insurance in many cases. Musicians, comedians, writers, stuff like that. There's a lot of cases where they don't have health insurance. Some cases they do. They're part of a union that, helps with that. But in a lot of cases, they don't have that kind of thing. They don't have security as far as a job goes. You know, a lot of us are freelancers and contractors and stuff like that. So when we are not able to work, we don't really get paid, and we don't qualify for unemployment pretty much 100% of the time. I know they're changing that recently because of this pandemic. I don't know how permanent that's going to be, though, or how easy it's going to be. So this is an organization that helps to combat stuff like that and tries to provide for fellow musicians. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to Ethan Embry for sporting a Medicare for All t-shirt. Yeah. All right. And we're going to go to the song of the day now. So yesterday was a very significant day in the land of music history, or just the land of music, really. I don't know why I put history there. But yesterday was Robert Smith of The Cure. It was his birthday. And it was also the day to celebrate the life of Prince. I did not put that in my tweet because I wanted to make it a birthday tweet. But yesterday was the day that Prince passed 4 years ago. And also, it's Iggy Pop's birthday, too, yesterday. So Iggy Pop, Robert Smith, they share a birthday. I didn't know that, but Iggy of the Stooges, Robert Smith of The Cure, they share a birthday. And it's also the day to celebrate the life of Prince. In many ways, it's like a December 8th, you know, December 8th, Jim Morrison's birthday, also the day to celebrate the music of John Lennon, because it's, the day that Lennon was shot. So I tweeted about that. I did tweet, and here's the tweet I put out. I kept it just to a birthday tweet, but I said Iggy Pop and Robert Smith share a birthday, and the truth is that they blow, ... my fucking mind whenever I get to see them live, huh? There we go. See what I did there? That's what I did. That's what I did. So anyway, song of the day, I got to kind of throw out a few of my favorites from those artists. First of all, Prince, When You Were Mine. It's a pop tune. It's not, it's not of the more jam-centric of Prince's catalog. It's not of his more in-depth or heavier catalog, but it is, if I made a list of perfect pop songs, it'd be on it. It's just a perfect pop song. When You Were Mine. I know that you're going with another guy. It's just a perfect, beautiful pop song. And, another fun, little tidbit here. One of my best friends in the whole wide world, his birthday was also yesterday. And I never made this connection. Now, he's a musician himself. And I was like, dude, you share a birthday with Robert Smith, and you share a birthday with Iggy Pop. And it's a day to celebrate the life of Prince. Now, my buddy, biggest Prince fan I know, he plays in a Prince tribute band where he is Prince. They do a fantastic job. They don't get to do it as often anymore. It's kind of difficult. They all live in different places. Plus, it's a very expensive production to put on because they have a horn section, they have dancers, they have everything. But it's amazing when they do it. It's a phenomenal show. And they did When You Were Mine. That was among the songs they did. And so I texted him and I was like, dude, it's Iggy Pop, Robert Smith, you. And it's the day to celebrate the life of Prince. I don't know if you ever got to listen to Prince, though. That's what I texted him. I was like, I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. He's out of Minnesota. Good songs, that guy. And my buddy got a kick out of it. But so anyway, Prince, When You Were Mine. That's the Prince tune I'm going to throw at you for Song of the Day today. And The Cure, I got to go with my favorite Cure song of all time, One More Time. It's an amazing song. It's a beautiful song. And then I'll go with, for Iggy Pop, you know what? I know it's a very vanilla choice, but there's nothing quite like Lust for Life. And when I saw Iggy Pop, he opened with that. And when you hear those drums, those infectious drums on Lust for Life, which, by the way, are beautifully immortalized in the song by the Hold Steady, Constructive Summer by the Hold Steady, where he goes, me and my friends are like the drums on Lust for Life. Because the drums on Lust for Life are infectious, they're beautiful, and it is among the just perfect recorded compositions. Just those oh, lustful life, yo, lustful life. So I recommend those three songs: When You Were Mine by Prince, One More Time by The Cure, and Lust for Life by Iggy, baby. Iggy Pop, Robert Smith, the Prince. I said the Prince. That's a book. Prince. And I got this thing called a sub pack. This was a gift to me, and you can't really see it, but it's this thing. It's called a sub pack. You can look it up, and you plug it into your computer, or wherever you're playing music, wherever your music's coming out of, as long as there's a jack. And what it does is it vibrates to the music. So you put your headphones on, you plug it into the equipment, and you sit on it, and it's kind of like a seat cushion almost, and then it just vibrates to the music you're listening to. So last night, in honor of setting this thing up, I got it in the mail a little while ago as a gift. So shout out to the folks at Subpack for doing that. Thank you. And I plugged it in, and I put on some live Cure shows, some recent live Cure shows, and I just listened. Then I listened to some hip hop, because it's like, if there's a lot of bass going on, you feel it even more. So I listened to some hip hop, and I also had some fresh greens, if you will. And it was a cool way to spend an evening. I went through a lot of music, actually. Eventually, I just sat. I realized, I was like, oh, I've been doing this for a while. And then I just tweeted. I was like, look, I'm ask me anything. That's what I tweeted. And you guys asked me some questions, and I answered them, and it was a fun time. So yeah, a little bit of music to end your day there. And by the way, we are going to be. I'm going to be making that Spotify playlist. I know how to now, you guys. I know how to make that Spotify playlist, so I'm going to do it. But let me see what you guys are saying. By the way, Graham Elwood and myself have another show. We have another show on Zoom. We're doing them every Saturday, as long as the pandemic's going on. As long as the pandemic's going on and we can be there, we're going to be there. So we're going to be there again this Saturday. Excuse me. This Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, over on the Zoom. You can grab your tickets at ronplacone.com, and we'll be doing that as long as we can. We'll be doing that as long as this pandemic goes on. Every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can grab tickets for this week at ronplacone.com. So there's that. Also, if you are so able, patreon.com/ronplacone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album. And you get a patrons only stream where I respond directly to the patrons. You also get a private Zoom show that I do every week. I do a Zoom show once a week for my patrons, and then we chat after. It's a good time. And I'm going to keep doing that even after the pandemic's over. Even after the pandemic has ended, I'm going to keep doing that. So I look forward to that. If you are on stable financial ground and want to help me expand this show, please do consider it. Patreon.com/ronplacone. I'm actually close to the point where I'm going to be able to get an on-site producer in here, someone who can oversee the tech stuff while I do the stream. That will be infinitely helpful. I'm almost there. I'm almost there to the point where I'll be able to have somebody in here and pay them. I'm not quite there yet, but if you are so able, please do consider it. Again, patreon.com/ronplacone. All right. I'm Sweet Leaf. Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. That's very generous of you. Thank you very, very much. Knowledge share. Only payroll workers. You put in all caps. I live in Manchester, UK. I'm a little envious. Our gardener turned up the other day. He was starving. People like him are not covered by the crisis program. I give him triple money and a box of food. I feel you, knowledge share. And again, I know that all the countries out there have their problems. I'm certainly not trying to imply that you guys are a utopia over in England. I know that's not the case. I know that you have your own problems. And I know that your UBI-esque programs are not perfect. I know that's the case in England. And I know that's the case in Canada. Not everybody gets that $2,000 a month in Canada. Not everyone gets their wages covered. I totally get that. But again, compared to us, compared to the US, you guys are doing a hell of a lot better, like night and day better. But I hear you. It's definitely not perfect. And you're pointing out it's only payroll workers. Kate, what's up? Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Oh, and knowledge share. Give my love to Manchester. You've probably heard me go off on Manchester before, but I fell in love with your city. Going to the Afflecks was like, it was unreal. I talked a lot of music on today's episode, so I won't go off too much. But and then the Ritz, you guys, one of my favorite venues in the world, the Ritz, the original Ritz in Manchester. It's amazing. The floor freaking bounces at the Ritz. It's incredible. And I saw Beans on Toast and Letterkenny there. Anyway, so Kate, best Cure song, Love Cats. I love that song. One of my favorites. It's really hard to just pick one Cure song. I mean, I could give a list, and I probably will at some point. I'll put it on the playlist. But yeah, I Love Cats is definitely up there for me. It's among my favorites. If I had to just pick one more time's got to get the gold star. It's just an amazing song, and I have so many memories associated with that song. When I first dove into the Kiss Me album, it was one of those albums that I just listened to nonstop for weeks on end. And I discovered it when I was in high school, and I remember just listening to that album nonstop. This was back in the day when people still had CD players. Dating myself a little bit, but I had my little CD player, and you would always listen to music on the bus because it's morning. No one wants to talk. We're all tired. So everyone would listen to the music, and then they'd be like, what are you listening to? I'm listening to The Cure. What are you listening to? And I would just listen to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me over and over. It was one of those albums for me. A lot of my peers, it was Radiohead, the Bends. But I never really got bit by the Radiohead bug. I never really quite caught onto it the way other people did. I don't connect with it as much. I respect it, but it's just not my personal cup of tea. I was always a Cure guy. And I would just listen to the Kiss Me album over and over and over. So, yeah, one more time. Got a perfect place in my heart. Really does. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you, I'm Sweet Leaf. Thank you, Knowledge Share. Thank you, Kate, for today's Super Chat contributions. I appreciate it very much. I'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.